All right, welcome class. We're going to go through measurement. How do you read a ruler? All right, so here's what we got. First, why do you learn to measure? It's a really useful skill. You might use it for a job, you might use it for your hobbies, you might use it to hang a picture straight ever. Um, it's one of those skills that you really need to know. It's really not optional. You need to know this for just general life. When people say, "When am I ever going to use this in real life?" All the time. You are going to be expected to know how to read a ruler. Um, all right, measurement systems. You need to learn both. You need to learn the customary, the standard is standard in US. It's we're the only ones who use it. Us in Liberia and Myanmar. Those two powerhouse countries of Liberia and Myanmar, and us. It's the old English system. We've modified it a little bit. We don't use stones that much, but we pretty much are using English's system. Or the deceptively smaller graphic there of the metric or international system. International because 93% of the world uses the international system. We go by number of countries, the percentage is higher. That's percentage in terms of population. Only 7% of the world uses standard, and most of those people are us. It's too bad. Metric is easier, significantly easier. And you have to learn a lot more fractions in your math class because it is a fraction-based system. You do need to learn both. You need to make sure that they're not confused with each other, or the problem where we lost a probe on Mars will happen again. One company was using standard and one company was using metric. I believe it was JPL and NASA were working together, and they were not using the same system, and they lost $1 billion probe. So that was fun. Make sure you know which system is which. We're going to go through how to tell the difference. So let's start off with an inch. This is customary English system. And here's how they're split up. The largest line is a full inch. The next highest line is half of that. The next highest line is half of that. The next highest line is, wait for it, half of that. And then the next one is, half of that. You can put more lines on a English ruler. Each one is going to be smaller and half of the previous one. It is not uncommon to see tape measures that read 64ths of an inch, 30 seconds of an inch. It is unusual but possible to see ones with 64ths of an inch. I have seen one with 256ths of an inch. It was on an engineering professor's desk, and I think he had it just because it was ridiculously small. It was at that point it was a novelty item for people who are mathy and like building things. But you can keep going down in terms of precision. So here I'm gonna pause recording and go over to another picture. All right, the recording and switching screens doesn't work perfectly. So here's a close-up picture of a little bit of a ruler. So generally, if it looks like a normal ruler, like this part here, that looks normal, right? That means that there's 16 of them. If it looks like there's not quite enough, They might only have 8, or I do have a ruler that has quarters only. It looks like one that's made for children. I think that's what it was, but um, the standard is 16. So if you were to read this out, let's say I want to get a tool here and mark. Say I want to read that right there. So here, let's go and let's change the color. Change color. There we go. Let's say we want to read that one right there. And what you're going to have to do, first thing is you're going to need to look at how many inches. Now note, there's this gap here. Some people like to shove the ruler or tape measure up against the edge of an object and then read. The ruler doesn't start at the edge. The ruler starts a little bit in. That's because this edge will chip and get uneven, and you don't want to measure from the edge. You want to measure from the first tick mark. That's an aside. You do have to be careful with the little claw thing on tape measures. It's they're notoriously imprecise. They're great if you're measuring like a wall, and a 16th of an inch isn't going to make a difference. But if you're actually going to build something, measure from this line or this line over here. But anyhow, let's say we want to measure this one here. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to look at your inches. Here, let me do some circles. So you're going to look at your inches, which, hey, look, you got 1 inch. And then you can do this multiple ways. You can just count the number of lines. You can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. You can do that. And you can say, oh, this was 1. I can write in somewhere 1 and 14. Incidentally, I'm doing this with my offhand on top of it. So, ooh, that is some writing there. Let me switch hands so hopefully I can get this done a little bit more legibly. And then you could simplify 1 and 7/8. Ew. Oh, there we go. It's not any neater, but at least it's faster. And you can say, oh, that's 1 7/8. Or if you want, you can say, well, this is 1/2 inch. The next one down is quarters, and it's 1/4 larger than 1/2 inch. So that means that's 3/4. And then this is the next one down. So that's half of that. So that's, that means this is 6/8. That means that's 7/8. Because this is 2/4. The better you are with fractions, the more you can just look at it and say, oh yeah. This one here is gonna be 3/8, because it's 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, or it's between the 1/4 inch and the 1/2 inch. So 2/8, 3/8. If you're good with fractions and you can move them up and down in terms of their base 2 denominator, by all means. Otherwise, you just count. You might look over here at this one, because this happens on some, and say, if I read that one, it doesn't look the same as the other ones. This one has 30 seconds. And it only does it for the first inch, because usually if you're measuring something to that precision, you don't need to have it over a foot long. You need it only on very small things. So this one, you can go through and say, if I wanted, say, this line, and I'm going to change the color to, there we go. If I was to get this line right here, I could count from the edge. I could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. I could say that's 27 of them. Tell I'm dyslexic. Did that out of order. Incidentally, I'm dyslexic. And you'd say, oh, it's always over 16ths, but that doesn't make any sense because it's less than an inch, and that's 27. That's clearly larger than 16. It's out of 30 seconds. It's out of double. Here, I'm going to switch tools here and just move that. There we go. All right. And you do this again, like let's say we got, oh, that's not what I meant to do. Go away. I meant to do this and then change the color to blue. Let's say I wanted this one right here. I could also do this and say, well, it's past 2 inches, so it's got to be at 2. That blue is pretty dark. Kind of looks like black because I think it's black. Why did you not change? All right. It's blue now. Oh, because it changed that one. All right. I can say it's 2, and then I can say, oh, well, there's 16 total. So this 3 is 16 out of 16, and this is just one less. 15 out of 16. Ta-da. That's how you read it. Okay, I'm going to pause and switch back over. Okay, then we're going to skip over this section here because I just went over that. So let's say we wanted to read this rule here. 1 inch, and then that's a 16th, so I might as well just count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1 and 7/16. This is right there. This would normally be the question and answer part of the class where I would call on each of you to read it, but it doesn't really work well on Zoom. So there we go. We're just gonna zoom through this. All right, the metric system, and it is the international system. It is, but most people refer to it as metric. It's base 10, like your fingers. Makes it easy. Your whole number system is base 10, so it works out. Not all number systems were base 10. At one point, numbers were 64 based. You'd have to count single digit up to 64 before you got into 2 digits. Those Babylonians. You definitely had to be educated to use math at that time. This one works out really well for our society as it stands now. The English system works great if people can't read or do math well, because you can always split 12 into, you can split it in half, you can split it in thirds, you can split it in quarters, you can split it into sixths. It works out really well for division when people aren't educated, but you're educated, this one's easier. You can use decimals, which is just a concept pre-literate farmers in 16th century England would not have understood. But you can. This one's easier. All right. So it's the small lines, millimeters. The next big line, centimeters. If you get 100 centimeters, you got a meter. You can do this as this is 1 and this is 0.9, or you can do this is 9 and this is 10. However, you're going to have to use units. If you say this is 1, you better say this is 1 millimeter, not 1 centimeter. Or you could say this is 0.1, but you better say 0.1 centimeter. You got to use your units. And frankly, you need to use your units with the other ones too. If I go through here, it's basically you just go through and you count the lines. It's this one here, that is 1.9 centimeters because it's after the one. It's a number right before the two. It's decimals, so that means 0.9. The way you can tell metric and English apart, metric has 10 lines. English has 16 lines. Metric, the lines are pretty much all even. English, they're all over the place. They go up and down, up and down, up and down. Because some of the rulers don't even have this one in the middle. This is 5. So it nicely marks halfway. Some of them don't even make that one larger. They just have it straight across and then a little bit larger there. I'm going to pause and show another picture because I like showing pictures. So here we have a real ruler or a tape measure. One of the things you should be able to read. Actually, let's see, do I got the little claw here? Don't trust the claw. It's a little wiggly. You usually start measuring at the 1, and then you just subtract 1. So if you line up the edge here, you start measuring over here, or you could do it with centimeters and you just start measuring at, say, 10. If you look at the centimeter side, like if you look here versus here, if you look at these two, this looks like the normal ruler you've been dealing with your whole life. This looks like the other side that you haven't been measuring from. Notice very even, up and down all over the place. Each one of these lines is half of the other one. So quarter, half, quarter, eighth, 16th, or half, quarter, eighth, 16th, and then these ones down here are 30 seconds. This tape measure gives you 30 seconds for a little bit longer. This one here, it's just straight up centimeters. Every 10th one, which turns out a decimeter. Each one is pretty much flat except for halfway at the 5. They made it a little larger. But if I wanted to say measure, I don't know, that did not switch my tool. Switch tool. I want to measure there. Let's go zoom in. My very high resolution photo there. Still close enough. I can still read. So this is 10 centimeters, 11, 12, 13. This is 13 centimeters. So 13.123. 13.3 centimeters is right there. Or I could say 133 millimeters, and that would be just fine. So just use your units. And there you go. Let me pause this and switch back over. Okay, so normally, again, we would do some call and responses, but it doesn't work over Zoom, so we're just gonna zip on past this part here. All right, unit conversion. The pre-made assignment from Project Lead the Way, I modified it a little bit. You're not going to do as much unit conversion. You're going to do a little bit of it. You need to be able to convert inside a system. So you need to be able to convert centimeters to meters, millimeters to centimeters, feet to inches, inches to yards, that kind of stuff. I figure if you have to convert between systems, if you want to see if 15 yards is equal to how many meters, around 15, you will use your calculator. You'll just, there's this, or not your calculator, you'll just use the internet on your phone and say 15 yards, 2 meters, and it will just tell you. That it's too complicated since they're not one-to-one. But frankly, if someone says it's 3 feet long, you should know off the top of your head that's a yard. So So feet to inches, there's 12 inches in a foot. There's 5,280 feet in a mile. How you set this up? You just set it up as a ratio, and you can cancel. So here we go. Here's the first one that I wanted. You set up a ratio that is equal to 1. It is an identity, multiplicative identity. Since all of you have passed or gotten past first semester 7th grade math, you should all have seen this by this point. Mathematical or multiplicative identity. It's equal to 1. So you multiply it and you can cancel the units out just like you would numbers. You say yards cancels with yards, and you're left with feet. You just multiply it out and you get that many feet. That's how you do it. And it's not the last time you're going to see this. When you get into high school science, much of physics and chemistry is making the units the right units by doing stuff like this. So they'll kind of expect you to know how to do this. It's a 7th grade standard. It's one that kind of gets glossed over sometimes because there's a lot of 7th grade math standards, but it is one. So let's say you want to do 4 feet to inches. You do this, you cancel the feet. This is equal to 1. You get 48 inches. If you wanted to say how many, if you had 4 inches, how many feet would that be? It'd be the same thing, except you'd flip that over. You divide and you get a third. And we're not going to do that. So here's some conversions. You should know that 1 meter is about a yard, 3.28 feet. A yard is 3 feet. You should know that they're kind of close. You should know that kilometers and miles are kind of similar, but miles are longer than kilometers. You got 100 kilometers, that's about 62 miles. If you're going 100 kilometers per hour on the freeway, that is not actually very fast. It's about 62.1 miles per hour. You should know that an inch is about 2.5 centimeters. You should know that a yard is 3 feet. You should know that see, is there one? No, I don't think there is. I think we need to go. All right. Here, I'm gonna share screen and I'm gonna pause recording. Hold on. I gotta find the thing. Okay, go back and share screen there. All right, so this is the assignment you're gonna be doing. This first thing here, you're just gonna go and you're gonna fill in the progression of metric units. So kilometers, hectometers, decameters, meters, decimeters, centimeters, millimeters. And you're going to do the same thing for the other ones. So like kilograms, hectograms, decagrams, and you're just going to fill it in with the others. Some people overthink this one and make it super complicated. It doesn't need to be super complicated. It's just fill in these ones with the same values you have up there. Hey, look, there's that thing that we just saw in the PowerPoint. So what you would do here, you've got 2 sets of rulers, and you just have to read them. The first thing you got to do to read it is say, is this an English or a metric one? Well, are all the lines, are they about the same size? Is there about 10 of them? Or are they all over the place and there's 16 of them? That would determine whether it was English or metric. What units would you use? This would be inches, millimeters, centimeters, that kind of thing. And you just go and you look here. A is here, and it would read there. B is here, and it would read there. C is here, and you would read this one right here, and you'd see what is the reading of that line right there. You go there. And you do the same thing here. Do they have 10 even lines? Are they, do they go up and down? Which one is which? Is this English or metric? Do you have 16 lines? Do you have 10 lines? And then you would go through and read them. Would you use millimeters, centimeters, hectares, drams, troy ounces? What unit would you use to read that? When you're using metric, make sure you use decimals. So like 1.6 centimeters would be metric. If you're using English, you do 1 space 1/2 inches would be 1/2, or let's do 3/8 because I don't think there's a oh, there is. Let's do 7/16. There we go. There's one that doesn't automatically shorten. You use a slash to indicate division. You use a space in between it to indicate the difference between the whole inches and numbers. You can indicate it like this. In terms of inches, this doesn't mean subtract. This just delineates the difference between the whole inches and the fraction. All right, this here, this assignment here, I am going to be grading this assignment largely based off of this and these. This takes the largest portion of the grades. This is second largest portion, third most portion here, which is just some conversions, a little bit of writing. And the least important part is that one. Here's what you do with this one. Notice this column is an educated guess. Now, I can't split this assignment up like I would do in person and make you guess first in front of me before you have access to measuring devices because you're doing this at home. You're going to be on the honor system to make a guess. The whole point of this is it increases your number sense if you guess and then check what you have. So for this first line, think about how big your notebook is. Think about how big it is in terms of inches. I think it's about 27 inches, let's say. It's not. That'd be huge. But let's say I guess 27 inches. And then you take out your ruler and you figure out how big the thing is. And depending on which direction you measure, it'll be 10 or 13 or 8 or whatever. I know what the reasonable measurements are. Your individual items are going to vary. So there's no one correct answer, but you should be in the ballpark. If you're wrong here, it's not the end of the world, but you should be in the correct ballpark here. I had someone last quarter who thought, oh, I'm just going to write down random stuff. And they have that their door was like 20 meters tall. That's like several stories, not like 2 stories, like several stories tall. Yeah, I know the size of these things. So don't write down random things. Go measure. It'll take you a little while, I realize, but it will give you a better sense of how big things are in the world, which is frankly valuable outside of this class. It is a good thing if you have some sort of sense of how big things are. So take a guess. How big do you think these things are? And then go measure the thing. Now, you might not have a bulletin board at home. Some people do, some people don't. If you don't have one, just write, I don't have one. I assume you all have a window, a cabinet, a pencil, a door, a desk, and a notebook somewhere in your house. And frankly, you can substitute a table for a desk if your family isn't a big dedicated desk family. These ones here, you're going to convert inside of a system. So 2.5 feet into inches, and then also into yards, both directions. centimeters, decameters. If you forget what centimeters and decameters are, hey, look, there's this thing up at the beginning that shows decameters and centimeters, what their relations are to each other. And then, give me some examples of measurement that you use. There's plenty. You use measurement all the time. All right. And then, let's stop share. And then you're just gonna turn it in. Don't forget to hit turn in on Google Classroom. So here you see this, and this one is actually from previous time, last quarter, so it doesn't have the video in there. But when you go to your assignment, there'll be a video, this video that hopefully you figured out how to play, the PowerPoint that I went through, the assignment. Over here, there will be something that says turn in. Make sure you have finished it, and then click the thing that says turn in, because unless you hit turn in, it's not turned in. If you turn it in and it is not done, you can always hit unsubmit, finish it, and then re-hit turn in. I would suggest you do that. Here is, I'm going to include this too. This is a link to, you can print out rulers if, say, you don't have a ruler, which it seems weird to me to not have a ruler or a tape measure in a house, but it happens sometimes. You can always print out one if you need it. But most of you should have a tape measure or a ruler someplace in your house. And you would go hit turn in when you are done, and then you'll be good. All right. So that is your first video lesson. Hopefully you got the whole thing done. So again, one more time, guess first, then measure. It doesn't matter if you guess wrong, just make an educated guess and then measure the thing so you know how big things are. It will help you in life. All right. I will see you another time.